Today on the Blockchain Report, Bitcoin sitting around 118K, and it might be because the White House is prepping a crypto report with plans for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Because when government starts hoarding Bitcoin like canned beans, you know things are getting real. Grant Cardone is stuffing Bitcoin into apartment deals now because nothing says financial stability like Florida condos and crypto in the same sentence. And Jack Dorsey's block just joined the S&P 500, which means laser eyes might be headed to Wall Street retirement portfolios. All that and more right now on today's show. Let's go! Good morning, my hash rate heroes, having hopefuls, and everyone who tried and failed to explain an ETF to their mom this weekend. You're watching the Blockchain Report, the only show where Bitcoin is gospel, altcoins are your weird cousin's garage band, and every dip is just a Black Friday sale with fewer socks. I'm Hank Hudson, coming to you live from the Bay Area where the scooters are self-driving, coffee costs more than ETH gas fees, and your barista is yield farming in between lattes. It's Tuesday, the FOMO is real, the timelines are unhinged, and the only thing pumping harder than Bitcoin is Michael Saylor's tweet schedule. But before we get into the inflation whiplash, whale sightings, and whatever Trump's calling a crypto strategy this week, smash that like button like you're rage-quitting Robinhood and follow RoxomTV, plus me at Hank at RoxomTV, or whatever platform hasn't been rugged by venture capital just yet. Now, whether you're watching from a Miami Beach cabana paid for in sats, a WeWork that smells like broken dreams and Celsius lawsuits, or your grandma's basement while dollar cost averaging her pension fund, buckle up because your Tuesday just turned full-on degen. Now, before we check the markets, we do have some breaking news this morning as Coinbase just teamed up with PNC Bank. Yes, the 160-year-old, brilliantly boring one to bring crypto access straight to your checking accounts. Now, PNC clients will soon be able to hold, buy, sell digital assets through their existing accounts thanks to Coinbase's crypto as a service product. And as a wild twist, the same button-up bank that survived the Civil War is now diving into crypto because apparently Main Street, well, they want in. And if Grandma's bank app is about to start showing Bitcoin balances, yeah, I think this bull run is just getting started. And we're going to talk about that and more. But first, let's check out the numbers in this morning's market rundown. Let's go. All right, it's Tuesday and things are moving fast and furiously this morning. Vin Diesel would be proud. Right now, Bitcoin's already back up to 119K. The start of the show it was 118. $1,000 later, we're now at 119. Things are moving in the right direction early on. Ethereum sitting at around $3,700. We're expecting some further breakouts. As we saw on the show yesterday, Carlos Meslatin says he expects Ethereum to be sitting around $7,100 in the next 2 months. So a lot of room there to run for Vitalik and friends. XRP, been one of the best performing coins as of late. It's up like 60 or 70% in just the last month. It's currently sitting at about $351 a token. Brad Garlinghouse is feeling good right now. Cardano's also been having a nice surge recently. They're at 88 cents. And Dogecoin even joining the party themselves. They're at about 26, 27 cents, but feeling about a 2% downtick in the last 24. In TradFi, let's see how things are looking there. Not too much happening right now. Currently, the Dow Jones is standing pat right around 44,300 or so. The NASDAQ Composite down about 0.5% this morning, sitting at 20,878. And the S&P is just chilling right around $6,300. MicroStrategy down a little bit this morning. They're currently at $4.24 a share. We got Coinbase. Apparently not everybody is quite as excited about the PNC Coinbase news as we are, as they're down about 1.2 percentage points this morning. Tesla sitting pat around $327, $328 a share. Nvidia down about 2% this morning, and GameStop hanging out at $24 a share. We got a lot to cover this morning on our show, so we'll be right back with our top stories in this morning's bull run right after this. Stay tuned.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
All right, welcome back. It's time for this morning's Bull Run, where we go over the top stories of the day. First up, the White House is gearing up to drop its first comprehensive crypto policy report under the Trump administration. The report originates from the president's working group on digital assets, co-created by none other than David Sachs and Bo Hines. Now, it stems from a January executive order aimed at making sure the U.S. doesn't get left behind while the rest of the world stacks sats and launches stablecoins. So, what's actually in it, you ask? Well, we don't have the full receipts just yet, but it's expected to propose legislative and regulatory frameworks for digital assets, including a potential national stockpile and a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So, yeah, you did hear that right, a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We've been talking about it for a bit, but now it might actually become a thing. Because when the government starts talking about accumulating BTC like it's oil barrels, things are getting pretty serious. Now, the report will also likely include recommendations related to national security. Think illicit finance and sanctions evasion. Now, which have been long the go-to boogeyman for every anti-crypto argument in D.C. Oh, and it'll build on the Genius Act, Congress's recent stab at creating a federal stablecoin framework. Now, this report also comes on the heels of a revelation that the U.S. Marshals only hold around 29,000 BTC, way less than the 198,000 that was once reported. So, yeah, either someone lost a few wallets or the strategic Bitcoin reserve can't come fast enough. And Trump Media and Technology Group, the parent company of Truth Social and America's favorite alternative reality echo chamber, has officially gone full Bitcoin. As of Monday, the company's Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related holdings now total approximately $2 billion. That's 2/3 of Trump Media's entire $3 billion liquid asset base. And because subtlety is for losers, they've earmarked another $300 million for options tied to Bitcoin-linked securities, with plans to convert those positions into spot Bitcoin, depending on market conditions, of course. Or, in other words, they're not done yet. The move follows a May Financial Times report claiming Trump Media was planning to raise up to $3 billion for a massive crypto play. Now, at the time, the company dismissed the article and called the writers dumb, which in hindsight was apparently code for we're absolutely doing this thing. Now, Trump media has confirmed that not only are they in the Bitcoin game, they're playing it hard. No breakdown was provided in how much of the $2 billion is held in direct BTC versus ETFs or Bitcoin-adjacent equities. But what is clear is that Trump media has officially joined the club. Now, according to the company, Bitcoin will continue to be a primary reserve asset going forward, and they may even tap that $3 billion war chest again to deepen their position, or, in their words, use it for revenue generation or future cryptocurrency acquisitions. So we'll have to wait and see what Trump media's got planned next. And New York Fed President John Williams, well, he's entered the chat, and he's here to tell you that yes, those Trump-era tariffs, they're officially jacking up inflation. Williams says he expects tariffs to add a full percentage point to inflation over the second half of this year and then into early of 2026. So if you thought your groceries were expensive now, just wait until your frozen pizza comes with a side of macroeconomic policy. Williams, who always has a vote on the Fed Interest Rate Committee, defended the central bank's current wait-and-see stance, which is basically economists speak for we're aware everything's on fire, but let's not panic just yet. He didn't mention Donald Trump by name, but let's be real, the new tariffs were kind of a dead giveaway. This comes as markets brace for the next Fed policy meeting that'll be happening later this month, where presumably they'll spend 2 days in a room debating whether inflation is sticky or transitory. Now, while the rest of us debate whether eggs are worth it this week. Tariffs boosting inflation isn't exactly breaking news around these parts, but a Fed official saying it out loud ahead of a rate decision, that, my friends, is notable, especially when that official has an actual vote. So what does this mean for Bitcoin going forward? Well, if you believe inflation is being artificially juiced by trade policy and the Fed is boxed into inaction, then owning a fixed supply non-sovereign asset starts to sound pretty smart. And Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis is officially over it, over Jerome Powell, over the Fed, and she's over Operation Choke Point 2.0. And she's calling for the Fed chair to step down. It's been a bad year for Jerome Powell. He's been roasted by President Trump, accused of perjury by Representative Anna Luna, and now he's got Lummis, aka the crypto queen, demanding his resignation. Now, Trump's beef is that Powell won't raise rates fast enough to squash inflation, which Trump sees as driving up the cost of servicing America's $36.67 trillion national debt. But Lummis's issues run deeper than just interest rates. She accuses Powell of greenlighting the reputational risk excuse that lets banks deny service to crypto firms under the Biden-era Operation Choke Point 2.0. Now, to his credit, Powell did recently move to scrap the reputation risk factor from bank supervision policy. Lummis called it a win, but not enough. In a July 9th post, she wrote, Jerome Powell has proven time and time again that he is unfit to run the Fed. He must resign now. Her Fox News appearance didn't exactly hold back either. She blamed Powell for the Fed's $700 million budget overrun on its new building and laid out a laundry list of crypto-related grievances. Also worth noting is that Lummis chairs the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. So her voice, it carries weight, especially in this new Trump-fueled crypto-friendly era. Now, whether or not Powell actually resigns, that's kind of anyone's guess right now. But the message here is quite clear. Crypto's political allies are no longer playing defense. They're going for the Fed's jugular. Now, what do we got here? We got a tweet we're going to bring up I want to talk about here. Victor, let's take a look at this guy here. This is interesting. So this most recent tweet, let me bring it up here on my little computer. So this is from Bitcoin Magazine Pro. And this tweet says, based on the previous 2 Bitcoin bull markets, this cycle may have only 100 days left remaining in this bull cycle. So this would result in the top of this cycle occurring in October of this year. And they're asking, do you think this is the most likely scenario, or are things different this time? So if you look at this chart we're taking a peek at right here, you can see right where we are with that little green circle. And if you compare that to previous cycles, it certainly would seem to indicate that there is some room for us left to run, although I wouldn't expect it to be quite as parabolic as we've seen in previous cycles. As you can see from the kind of bluish teal line here, that's where they went up close to 10,000% during that cycle. And the purple line, and that's the most recent Bitcoin halving cycle we saw from 2018 to 2022, we saw that go over 1,000%. And as you can kind of see with these, it seems to go a little bit lower each time. So I don't know if we can necessarily expect 1,000% increases during this particular cycle, but it definitely appears that we've got some room to run going forward. So that's something to keep an eye out. With that being said, there are other people that have a slightly differing opinion on this one, as according to analysts over at Bernstein, this crypto bull market isn't just another 2021 rerun, it is a full-blown institutional crawl to $200,000 per Bitcoin. Not a fast crawl, not an easy crawl, but an inevitable one. Their latest note says that we're headed toward a long and exhausting crypto bull market that could stretch into early 2026, which sounds incredible because apparently nothing says bullish quite like a multi-year slog through regulatory trench warfare and Wall Street onboarding meetings. Bernstein, in fact, is doubling down on their 200,000 Bitcoin price target, citing the rise of Bitcoin ETFs, now holding over $150 billion, led, of course, by BlackRock's $84 billion IBIT and corporate treasury buys that won't stop stacking. Yes, Michael Saylor, this one is about you. Bernstein also says we're witnessing the rise of a new internet-native financial system powered by blockchains, stablecoins, and tokenized assets. They point out that crypto wallets are still only at about 50 million total users, but as banks and businesses plug in, that number could explode into the hundreds of millions. Now, real-world asset tokenization is expected to be the next big play here. Think money markets, equities, deposits, credit, all on-chain trading 24/7 with instant settlement and fewer excuses. Meanwhile, stablecoins are quietly taking over B2B and remittance payments with eyes on going full mainstream as compliance continues to catch up. And it's not just Bitcoin in the spotlight here. Networks like Ethereum and Solana are getting name dropped too as the cycle broadens and trading platforms like Coinbase and Robinhood gear up for the next big wave. Now, Bernstein's final mic drop during all of this, they said that it's easy to dismiss this cycle as another 2021. But we've moved past belief and we're seeing real adoption, regulation, and integration. Or, in other words, this time it's not just the crypto cult, it's the suits, the banks, and the people who write the rules. And they're all here just in time for the top. And another news, Strategy, well, they're back on their Bitcoin accumulation side business. This time, they're launching their fourth flavor of perpetual preferred stock. It's called Stretch, because apparently laser-eyed equity didn't make it past legal. The new Series A Stretch shares, ticker STRC, will be offered in an IPO under the Securities Act of 1933. Their goal, raise capital for two things. One, surprise, surprise, buying more Bitcoin, and two, keeping the lights on. Because as we know, Strategy picked up another 6,200 Bitcoin for a cool $740 million just earlier this week. Their total holdings now, over 607,000 BTC. That's over $71 million at today's prices. And STRC stock comes with a 9% variable annual dividend paid monthly, which ain't too bad, especially in a world where banks give you 0.01% and a free pen. Now, this latest offering joins Strategy's growing stock family, Strike STRK, which is an 8% fixed convertible, Strife STRF, 10% fixed non-convertible, Stride STRD, 10% non-cumulative non-convertible. all part of the 4242 plan, an $84 billion capital raise campaign aimed at buying so much Bitcoin that Michael Saylor eventually controls all monetary policy. And the market, well, they like it. Strategy stock MSTR closed Monday up 0.7%, ending the day at $426 per share. TD Cowen says the preferred shares offer income, price upside, and less volatility than common stock or raw Bitcoin, which is exactly the kind of thing you say when you're trying to get normies to ape into your Bitcoin fund without them realizing it's a Bitcoin fund. So, long story short here, Strategy's stacking harder than ever, and with every new buy, Bitcoin's supply shock grows more and more real. So the question now is, what happens when everyone wants in and Michael Saylor already took it all? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. And in other news, my good best buddy who doesn't know he's my best buddy, Grant Cardone, has raised over $1.6 billion to buy real estate, mostly apartments, from 20,000 investors. And now, well, he's injecting tens of millions of Bitcoin into the process because apparently passive income wasn't exciting enough without a little crypto roulette on top of it. His latest stunt, a $230 million bid for a Boca Raton apartment complex. But this time, he's folding in $100 million worth of Bitcoin. Because when you're buying distressed Florida real estate, you might as well toss in digital gold for some flavor. He might even take this hybrid monstrosity public, and it wouldn't be the first time. He's already done something similar 4 times. In one example, Cardone picked up an $88 million property for $72 million. Then he threw $15 million worth of Bitcoin into the fund. That fund now has no debt, and it spits out $350,000 in monthly cash flow. So no, he's not panic selling apartments to YOLO into altcoins. He's using real estate's stable income to stealth stack Bitcoin. His pitch for this? What if the real estate bought my Bitcoin and then I could actually take the whole thing public? It's basically a TikTok finance bro fever dream, but with SEC filings. Here's the loop. Real estate earns cash flow. That cash buys Bitcoin. The fund holds both. They hopefully moon together. Then it all goes public as a stock. Cardone wants to do this 10 times because once just wasn't weird enough. Some experts are into it. Ian Kane of Firepan says Bitcoiners might benefit from converting gains into income-producing assets. You know, something stable, like rent checks, for instance, instead of whatever Pepe coin is doing this week. Kane calls it peace of mind. Adler from Real New York, well, he disagrees. He says real estate is a traditional asset class and crypto volatility makes it a terrible match. Which is fair. Most people aren't positioned like Cardone. They're not leveraging thousands of rental units and a media empire to run Bitcoin-backed apartment flips. They're just trying to buy one house without crying. Cardone, on the other hand, is compounding cash into high-risk crypto and calling it strategy. He's got scale, leverage, and a camera crew. And whether or not it works, you better believe he's turning it into a course. So no, don't try this at home. But yes, definitely keep watching. Because real estate meets Bitcoin meets bankruptcy auctions. It's the reality show we didn't know we needed until now. And this guy is already halfway to filming the plot. And Jack Dorsey, Bitcoin baby, well, it just got a big old promotion. We, of course, are talking about Block Inc., formerly known as Square, currently known as the one with Cash App and crypto dreams. It will be added to the S&P 500 this Wednesday. Now, the stock immediately jumped 10% in after-hours trading because apparently legacy investors finally realized Block wasn't just a toddler toy or a Web3 buzzword. In a release, Block said, "It's a milestone that reflects the strength of our business and the work of thousands of people building tools to increase access to the economy across our brands, including Square, Cash App, Afterpay, Tidal, Proto, and BitKey. Or in other words, thanks for believing in our confusing rebrand and let us mine Bitcoin while pretending we're still a payments company." Block was originally founded in 2009 as Square, back when mobile payments sounded futuristic and no one had heard of NFTs yet. Simpler times for sure. In December of 2021, it rebranded to Block Inc. to reflect its growing obsession with Bitcoin and blockchain. Yeah, they still run Square, and yes, they still run Cash App too, and yes, they still own Tidal, because what every decentralized financial empire needs is an underperforming streaming service once co-owned by Jay-Z. Now, Block's BitKey division makes a simple self-custody wallet for Bitcoin. Proto, their other Bitcoin pet project, builds mining products and services. And now, 2 months after Coinbase joined the S&P 500 as the first pure-play crypto company, Block is following suit with them. Block will replace Hess in the index, which is getting absorbed by Chevron. So, oil out, Bitcoin in. Welcome to 2025. Last summer, Block began investing 10% of its Bitcoin profits back into BTC each month. They even open sourced their treasury blueprint because nothing says cypherpunk like corporate GitHub strategy docs. Block currently holds around 8,500 Bitcoin worth nearly $1 billion. And that's according to BitcoinTreasuries.net because, yeah, we have a .net website for this now, and it's one of my favorite places in the world. Make sure to check it out, BitcoinTreasuries.net. Now, back in November, Block announced it would cut back investment in Tidal and shut down the decentralized web team at TBD. In April, Block also settled with New York's financial regulator for $40 million over anti-money laundering failures, because even Bitcoin maximalists have to file their paperwork eventually. Block currently trades at around $72 per share. Its market cap sits around $44.8 billion, which makes it slightly more valuable than Solana on a Tuesday and slightly less than whatever Michael Saylor decides to tweet tomorrow. We're going to take a quick break, but when we're back, Charles Schwab is launching Bitcoin trading, and we're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. More of that on the Blockchain Report coming up in just a sec.
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the center of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're traveling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxom, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxom, rock-solid markets.
All right, welcome back to this morning's Bull Run. Charles Schwab, well, it seems like they're coming for Coinbase's lunch. CEO Rick Verster confirmed in the new CNBC interview that the $10.8 trillion asset manager will be launching Bitcoin and Ether trading sometime soon. And yes, he said the quiet part out loud. It's a direct shot at Coinbase. He said, our clients are invested in crypto today. In fact, our clients hold more than 20% of the exchange-traded product crypto in the entire industry, which sounds impressive until you realize that's only $25 billion of the $10.8 trillion Schwab manages. So basically a rounding error at that point. Still, Verster says that that is about to change, because apparently Schwab clients are tired of having their assets split between a Wall Street titan and some tattooed guy on Coinbase yelling, "When Lambo?" I do wonder when my Lambo is coming. Either way, according to Verster, Schwab customers want their crypto to sit alongside their retirement accounts, like a nice orderly 401k next to a volatile 24/7 speculative asset. Oh. Now, what could possibly go wrong there, right? Verster said many clients already have 98% of their wealth at Schwab, but they still keep 1 or 2% over at a digital native firm, or in other words, they've been cheating on us with Coinbase. And Schwab wants that crypto custody drama brought back in-house, baby. Asked point blank if Schwab would be competing with Coinbase, Verster didn't flinch, saying it absolutely would. If they're buying their crypto at Coinbase, he said, we would love to see them bring their crypto back to Schwab. Love to see it. The timing also isn't exactly subtle. The announcement came on the same day that Trump signed the Genius Act, a regulatory framework for stablecoins, which analysts say could boost Bitcoin trading volumes across the board. And you better believe that Schwab noticed. So now Schwab is entering the chat, armed with $10.8 trillion, a white label user interface, and clients who really, really hate switching apps. Coinbase, well, might be time to start offering complimentary t-shirts again because TradFi's moving on in. And it brought reinforcements this time. And in other news, Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the unofficial spokesperson for gold bugs with crypto side pieces, he's back with another apocalyptic prediction. This time, he says the Bitcoin bubble is about to burst. In a Monday post, Kiyosaki declared, in all caps, because subtlety is for fiat, bubbles are about to start bursting. Cool, okay. So basically, the financial version of winter is coming. He warned that Bitcoin, gold, and silver could all drop significantly when the inevitable crash hits. So all the safe havens might not be that safe after all. But here's the twist. He's thrilled about it. If prices of gold, silver, and Bitcoin crash, I will be there buying, he wrote. Because apparently, Doomsday is a discount event for Kiyosaki. Now this comes after Bitcoin hit an all-time high of $122,838 back on July 14th. It briefly dipped below $117K on Friday, and at press time, it's hovering around $119K. So naturally, Kiyosaki is loading the bear signal, which is a little interesting considering just last week he called Bitcoin's new high great news for people who already own BTC, and he said it was bad news for people who never pulled the trigger. He even took a shot at those still waiting on the sidelines, saying they own nothing. But now, apparently, we're back in the bubble bursting mode again, which is kind of a weird take for the guy who also said Bitcoin could hit $1 million by 2030 and slammed clickbait losers who keep predicting crashes. So yeah, this is the financial equivalent of I hate drama right before flipping the table. Now in short, Kiyosaki believes that the crash is coming and he's totally here for it. And if Bitcoin goes down, he's going shopping, because whether it's at 30K or 300K, Robert Kiyosaki will always find a way to say, I told you so. And Peter Schiff, longtime Bitcoin skeptic and gold bug in chief, has officially taken a break from yelling at clouds to yell at Ethereum. In a recent post on X, Schiff advised everyone to sell their Ethereum and swap it for Bitcoin. And not because he's finally coming around on crypto, but because Ethereum, in his words, is still in a bear market when measured against Bitcoin. And let's be honest, if Peter Schiff starts saying you should buy Bitcoin, that's either a sign of the top or the start of the next mega cycle. Which, I don't know, but Schiff claims ETH's latest price surge, a 25% weekly pump to over $3,800, is just a short-lived bounce. Not a reversal, not a trend, just a bump on the side of the Bitcoin highway. His reasoning? The charts. Not personal bias, he swears. He says Ethereum is now near its upper range with limited upside. Meanwhile, public companies like BitMine and SharpLink Gaming are still scooping up Ethereum and adding it to their balance sheets. In fact, SharpLink has over $1 billion in ETH and stakes it, earning yield and helping secure the network. They responded to Schiff's take with a little side-eye and a push for staking instead of selling. And crypto analyst Benjamin Cohen chimed in to note that the Ethereum-Bitcoin ratio likely bottomed out before Schiff issued his hot take. So to recap, Ethereum is surging, Schiff is bearish, and the Ethereum versus Bitcoin rivalry is alive, well, and louder than ever. Oh, and one last little thing. When a guy who spent a decade saying Bitcoin is a scam tells you to actually buy Bitcoin, that might be your cue to hodl even harder. And just when you thought that 123K Bitcoin was the top, Plan B, the creator of the infamous stock-to-flow model, says we're still laughably undervalued, like 10x undervalued. In a recent post on X, the man who charted Bitcoin's destiny with a rainbow-colored meme claims that BTC is still flying under the radar, Wall Street's radar. His reasoning for all of this? Scarcity, of course. More specifically, Bitcoin's stock-to-flow ratio, which currently sits at a whopping 120. That's double the stock-to-flow ratio of gold, which sits around 60. And in Plan B's world, a higher stock-to-flow equals more scarcity and more value. Gold's market cap, roughly $20 trillion. Bitcoin's about $2 trillion. So by that logic, BTC still has a long way to go. A very long way. Plan B says that based on fundamentals, Bitcoin should be worth over 1.18 million per coin. Currently, it's chilling at around 119K, up like a percentage or so in the last 24 hours, with trading volume up 36% to nearly 66 billion. Not bad for something mainstream media called tulip bulbs just 6 years ago. And he's not alone in the bullish camp. Bitwise CIO Matt Hogan says Bitcoin is in a price discovery phase and could hit 200K by the end of this year. So meanwhile, Robert Kiyosaki, who we just spoke about previously, of Rich Dad Poor Dad fame, says a crash could still come, but when it does, he of course plans to buy more. So to summarize, Plan B thinks we're going to $1 million. Bitwise thinks 200K is totally doable, and Kiyosaki's waiting for a crash so he can scoop up the dip. Sounds about right. And in other news, so if you finally got your cold wallet dialed in, your seed phrase engraved on titanium, and your sats stacked to the moon, great. Now here's a fun new existential threat, and we of course are talking about quantum computers. David Carvalho, a CEO and chief scientist at Neoris Protocol, says that Bitcoin's cryptography could get torn to shreds in as little as 3 to 5 years. Yikes. And yeah, he means shredded. The culprit, of course, Shor's algorithm, a quantum trick that once paired with a powerful enough computer could crack elliptic curve cryptography in mere seconds. That's the same cryptography that Bitcoin uses. And it gets worse. According to Carvalho, around 30% of all Bitcoin, so we're talking somewhere between 6 and 7 million BTC, is stored in wallets that already expose public keys, meaning they're prime targets the moment a working quantum machine comes online. He's also warned that we're rapidly approaching Q-Day, the moment quantum computers can break current encryption standards in real time. Google says that day is coming, and soon. Microsoft's already flexing its new Majorana chip, and IBM says its quantum Starling system, the first fault-tolerant quantum computer, is slated for launch by 2029. Meanwhile, McKinsey predicts 5,000 quantum machines in operation by 2030. That's a lot of firepower pointed at your 12-word seed phrase. Now, Carvalho's advice about this? Migrate to quantum-safe wallets, use quantum-secure custodians, and pray that devs on Bitcoin's core are already working on the fix. But don't freak out just yet. Adam Back, OG Bitcoiner and Blockstream CEO, says that the quantum apocalypse is still at least 20 years away, and if anyone would know, it's the guy who still refuses to sell a single coin. His take? If and when quantum hits, we'll just migrate to quantum-resistant addresses. Easy peasy. Of course, that assumes Satoshi isn't sitting on a beach somewhere, because if quantum ever forces his hand to move those coins, it's going to be one hell of a day on Bitcoin Twitter. All right, we're taking a quick break. All right, we're taking a quick break. We'll be back with more news. And of course, we have the lovely and talented Isabella Santos joining us on the show in just a bit to talk about what's going on in her life and much more. So stay tuned. Bitcoin Report coming right back. welcome back. It's time for another edition of Whale Watch, because where the whales go, the minnows are certainly sure to follow. And we are officially in peak whale season. And no, not the ones in the ocean, the ones who bought Bitcoin in 2011 for the price of a dinner at Applebee's and just cashed out for a paltry sum of $9.5 billion. According to reports, an anonymous Bitcoin whale unloaded 80,000 BTC last week. Those coins were reportedly acquired back in 2011 for a grand total of $54,000. You heard that right. $54,000 for 80,000 Bitcoin. That's a steal. That's now netted this fine person a cool $9.6 billion. That's an 18 million % return for those of you doing the math at home. Or for those still trying to comprehend that, that's a 176,000x multiple, or a 145% compound annual growth rate for 14 straight years. Also known as Take That, Warren Buffett. This sale comes just weeks after another $8.6 billion whale transaction, rumored to be Roger Ver, involving another 80,000 Bitcoin, originally purchased in the Satoshi era. So yeah, July is apparently the new sell-off month for crypto billionaires. According to Kakashi on Twitter, who surfaced the transaction, the entire 80,000 Bitcoin stash was sold at once, which is kind of like casually throwing your yacht into the resale market and then watching the ocean just absorb it. And let's be honest, holding on to that much Bitcoin since 2011, we're talking through Mt. Gox, through the 2018 crash, through Dogecoin's rise and fall, that takes either diamond hands or zero internet access. Either way, it worked. Of course, this kind of story triggers the usual eye rolls from skeptics who still insist that Bitcoin is speculative, which is cute, by the way, because speculative or not, 54K and a 9.5 billion kind of speaks for itself. And the whale didn't just beat the market, they obliterated it. Now, the big question is, will more longtime holders start hitting the cash out button before the month's end? Because if one more Satoshi era wallet wakes up and dumps $1 billion on chain, you better believe the rest of the crypto class of 2011 is going to check their cold storage real quick. For now, score one for the hodlers, and a general reminder that in crypto, long-term means life-changing, sometimes quite literally. We're going to break, but when we're back, we got more blockchain report and, of course, our interview with Isabella Santos. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back. It is almost 9 o'clock on Tuesday, July 2nd. Let's take another peek at the market and see how things are shaping up this morning. Right now, Bitcoin still hanging tight right around that 119K mark. We've gone a little below it this morning, but things are still looking pretty good. We're up about 1.25% in the last 24 hours, so not too bad. We'll take it. Ethereum still hovering above that $3,700 mark. We've seen a nice explosion for Ethereum the last couple of weeks. It seems like Vitalik has put Mu Dang back on the shelf and actually got down to business, and the market is seemingly loving it, and the price of ETH is reacting accordingly. XRP also been quite the darling in the last couple of weeks, currently sitting at $3.51 a coin. Does Brad Garlinghouse know something the rest of us doesn't? Maybe. Either way, people are loving XRP right now as they're sitting pretty. They've had some pretty notable gains, up 60 or 70% in just like the last month or so. So they're surging. Cardano down about 1% this morning, but also feeling the love as of late, sitting at around 88 cents a coin. And Dogecoin just kind of following where the rest of the market goes. Don't really understand what it does. I know Elon's involved and there's a dog. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we're back, we got Isabella Santos and more coming up in just a bit.
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
All right, welcome back. Next up, we have our deep dive today, and it's an exciting one. Our guest, well, she's back, and she has been very busy. From anchoring the biggest Bitcoin stages in Vegas and Prague to building a literal circular economy from scratch on a tiny Mexican island, this woman is turning Bitcoin theory into full-blown reality. She's the co-founder of GetBase, the founder of BTC Isla, and the heart behind the new Bitcoin Cafe, and quite possibly the most productive Bitcoiner in a sundress. Please give a big blockchain report welcome to the show to the one and only Isabella Santos. Welcome back. It's so great to see you. How are you? Thanks for joining us today.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having us. I'm super excited to be home and to settle in. I feel like Bitcoiners love to travel and do all these crazy conferences all over the world. So having a little break for about 30 days really nice.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you back, Isabella. You're an inspiration to us all. And for our viewers out there that might somehow not know who you are, give me the 30-second elevator pitch. Who is Isabella Santos and what are you building right now?
30-second pitch. I'll start with what am I building right now? I'm actually going to launch the first ever Bitcoin Cafe in Isla Mujeres. And it will be like the first restaurant, the first shop that will have everything priced in sats. I still don't know how that's going to work, but you know what? I got like 30 days to figure it out. So I'm excited for that. And in order to in honor of that, I'm going to do a 21-day challenge that I'm going to do no fiat on the island. I don't know why I kind of put myself in this challenging situation. Like I mentioned, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be home in 30 days. So why not just make it super difficult and try to survive with no fiat, open a cafe. So I don't know why I put myself.
Okay. I love it. Well, sometimes you just kind of have to put yourself in those situations to see, you actually see it through, right? Adversity builds strength and character. And I love that you're putting yourself in these unique spots and just kind of seeing where it goes. And I want to talk about this 21-day challenge. I'm super interested in this. Tell me about this. What was the inspiration for this? When does it start? Are people allowed to join you in this challenge? How does it work?
I mean, if they can join me, that would be amazing. It all started when Mir posted this tweet that she did 11 days of no fiat challenge. And I'm like, oh, this sounds fun. So I sent it to my team from GetBase. And I was like, hey, guys, we need to do something like that. And I don't know if many of you guys are YouTubers, but there's a YouTuber called Ryan Train. And Ryan is doing 50 states in 50 days, and he's doing a daily vlog about it. So he's doing this massive challenge and posting it how he's driving from all 50 states. So I was like, why don't we mix Mir's challenge with Ryan Trahan's challenge and do a BTC Isla challenge from August 1st to August 21. So the point of the challenge is that you cannot literally use under any circumstance fiat, a dollar bill, a bank account, a credit card, nothing. I have to figure out how I'm going to pay for my groceries, my food, stuff for the house, all using Bitcoin. But the twist that we're adding to it is I have to do a certain job every single day to earn sats. For example, like one day I wake up bartender and I have to get that business owner to pay me in sats. And that's the money that I'm able to use.
Oh, that's super crazy. Are you doing this on Isla Mujeres the whole time, or will you be traveling at all while you're doing this, like you're the other YouTuber who's going to 50 states?
No. I'm going to be staying in Isla Mujeres. There will be times where I have to go to mainland. That's inevitable. Like, for example, like we don't have Costco on the island. I don't even know if you can use Bitcoin in Costco, but I gotta find out. I will let you guys know if it's if it's be doable.
Definitely. Well, the good news is I know of a cafe where you live that will be accepting Bitcoin soon. So hopefully they've got an extensive menu in case you get hungry. I'm not sure. How accessible is using your Bitcoin on Isla Mujeres? Are there, other than you, are there a lot of other businesses that are accepting it right now? Or are you doing your best to orange pill everyone on the island?
Well, I'm doing my best. I think this part of the challenge is also going to have more merchants accept Bitcoin. Right now, we have over merchants that accept Bitcoin. So in a way, yes, you can survive only with Bitcoin on the island. You know, you have 20 merchants, like shops. Then you have little like restaurants. If you want to buy things, you can use Bitcoin. And you have over 180 places that you can stay, rent using Bitcoin. The thing is, I'm trying to get more people. So the thing is, in my day to day, I'm not going to go out to a restaurant every single day for the 21 days or go to the same 20 places. Like, yes, I could, but I think the main purpose of this is to like get as many people involved as possible and try to use different merch, different options. Like my number one goal would be to actually get a little store, like a convenience store that sells fruit. That big. That would be because you like technically I could survive just by going to the same places, like get my tacos, churros, everything.
Yeah.
I like to.
That's not as fun though, right? You gotta vary it a little bit.
You do. You gotta add some spice, a little seasoning to it.
Yeah. Are there a lot of vendors that are churro vendors that accept Bitcoin then that you're going to on the regular, or do you got to convert a couple so that you can get your daily churros? I guess, are those a part of your everyday diet or?
I wish. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, so I cannot have gluten and I can't have soy or lactose. So that's another thing. All the places that I kind of orange pilled, except like 3 or 4, have gluten-free options, but the other ones, like the churro place, I can't eat there. So it's just mostly to bring the tourists or the people that come to visit the island. I give them like a Bitcoin merchant tour, and I take them through all the islands and all the places that you can pay with Bitcoin.
Very cool. What so you said you're going to be working different jobs to earn sats to pay for your lifestyle during these 21 days. What are these jobs? Are you doing more of what you're already doing, except you're now expecting your fee payment in Bitcoin? Or are these like random jobs that maybe your subscribers are going to pay you for remotely? Like, what is that process like?
So we're going to see how the audience reacts from BTC Isla. So all the episodes will be 21 days, and every day I'm going to be posting it on the BTC Isla channel. And they're going to be jobs that people will most likely do at home. Like, for example, anybody can go and be a bartender, especially like in places or rural areas. Like if you know the merchant or the owner, you can be like, hey, can I, be a bartender for a day, be a waiter. I'm going to wash dishes. I'm giving you the inside scoop here, my friend. What else am I?
Thank you.
I'm going to be a photographer for a day. There's a gym here on the island that just opened that accepts Bitcoin. So I asked if I can take the pictures for their, for for their website because they don't have it. I'm going to be cleaning houses for a day. So it's sort of like I'm going to be a person. I'm going to be cutting grass. So it's gonna. I don't know why this is fun.
I know it sounds super fun, and what I really like about it is there's an opportunity that I'm sure you've already investigated of like a participatory element from all of your viewers and subscribers. Like for instance, let's say I have a job that I think would be fun for you to do on your 21-day challenge. Would I be able to contact you somehow and say, hey, listen, I need photos of this taken, and then I could pay you myself and be part of that journey with you? Is that something your audience is able to do?
Well, they could suggest jobs that I could do on the island, but they will be able to participate. We're going to have the wheel of bull or the wheel of bear. So depending, because we don't know how hard the challenge is going to be. So I don't know if the challenge is going to be extremely hard. If it's going to be extremely hard, I have to feel that I'm going to spin every day and people can donate to like spin or save me from like, let's say one day I'm like starving and people are like, spin the bowl so you can actually pay for something. If I can't pay anything with Bitcoin that day, they'll be able to like, okay, you have 60 minutes. One of the the lifesavers will be like, you have 60 minutes to use fiat, or you can call a friend to bail you out this time. But personally, what I'm guessing, the hardest thing will not be about Bitcoin. It will be like how to survive using the pay rates of a normal person on the island. Because it's very, like, what I'm realizing, like, the minimum wage here on the island compared to, like, when you go shop for food, like, they don't stink up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get that. What is the ultimate goal of this? Like, what do you hope to do? Is this to continue to build awareness for Bitcoin as like a day-to-day currency so people can see like, hey, you can actually live this lifestyle? Is it just, it seemed like a fun idea, let's see where it goes? Or is there an end game in mind here of like what you're trying to accomplish with this 21-day challenge?
Well, always, I think with everything that I do, mostly it's like a mission and an experiment to see like how can Bitcoin work? You know what I mean? It is working, but how scalable? You know, we all talk about making Bitcoin, you know, the unit of account and the currency of the world. But it's like, okay, if we're going to do that, we need to test it out. We need to try it out. We need to, you know, go out and see if we can survive. So the mission is like, will this literally like, will I be able to survive 21 days without touching this corrupt money that the universe has made and that we're also dependent on? Like, is that possible? Like, I know that there's people that survive on the Bitcoin standard, but personally, like, I want to see if I can do it in a random island from the side of the world.
That's so cool. What a fun experiment. I'm glad you're doing it more than me. I don't know if I could possibly hang on for those 21 days. But it sounds like the mission, you know, is going well, as I did see you over at the Las Vegas Bitcoin conference just a few months ago. And by the turnout, I think our mission is heading in the right direction. I mean, we had neon lights, big personalities. What was your biggest whoa moment from the conferences? I know you got a lot of FaceTime with some of the biggest movers and shakers in the business. What were your big takeaways from the 2025 conference in Vegas?
My biggest takeaway, I don't think I've told anybody this, but I was interviewing, like I had a stage in the VIP section, a section where I would like interview people for Bitcoin Backstage. And in one of the breaks, I see from like the corner of my eye, like a lot of bodyguards and everybody like kind of swarming. So I'm so nervous going, and one of really good friends of mine, Brandon, is that's Ross Holbrook. And I saw his mom was there too. And I had interviewed her for the live stream that we were doing for Bitcoin Magazine. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that is Ross Holbrook. have been literally documenting his and putting like videos about his story literally any time that I could. And as I'm watching, like, oh my goodness, like I just want to say hi. You know what I mean? I don't know. I was like low-key fangirl. And I remember literally like, going up, he didn't want to do any interviews, obviously, like all rights reserved. And as he's coming by, I fist bumped Russell. And I was like, that is probably like the coolest thing that I've ever done. He was like, nice. And I was like, thanks. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, you rub. Go ahead. I mean, yeah, you were rubbing shoulders with everybody I saw. I think I saw you do interviews with Garovich, with Michael Saylor, with all these big people that are at the bleeding edge of the Bitcoin industry. Did anyone drop any like truth bombs or anything that stuck with you, where you're like, wow, this is really happening right now, and you're in the middle of this Bitcoin tornado? Anything that stuck out to you from any of those interviews?
The one that changed mostly like my perspective, it's going to be super, super random. And it's more Grant Cardone. So it was the first time that I had interviewed him. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love all the Bitcoiners and they have great, mission. But sometimes like there's also like personal development that we all have to do. And I think sitting down with Grant, it was sort of like this interview. It hasn't aired yet, but it was more like I was really asking questions like personally, because Grant is this really like, he's managed to, what do you call it? He's managed to grow his brand and not be ashamed of it. And I feel like, I don't know if you can relate to this, but the word sort of like influencer has been sort of like been prostituted a lot, I would say. Everybody's like, oh, an influencer or influencer, and it's kind of looked down upon. And I was entering I was like, I don't want to post my whole life out there. You kind of want to maintain private. And we were talking a lot about that, like about personal branding and everything. And he just looks at me. He's like, yo, honestly, like straight up, you only make it in life in 3 ways. Like, one, you're born into it and you inherit it. 2, you're married into it. Or the third one is you grow your personal brand to make it. Mm-hmm. And he was like, and then you can choose to go off the radar and you can choose to like literally move to an island and have nobody find you and go off the grid. But unless you don't grow your personal brand and you dedicate that to yourself to get literally like people and followers to convert into customers, then, I mean, what do I have to say? Like, you're kind of screwed. You know what I mean? If you want to make it and you want to make it big, it's more about who knows you rather than who do you know. And nobody had said it to me like that. I've always kind of heard like, it's all about who you know. And he's like, no. It's about who knows you. And it kind of shifted a little, like a lot of things in my life, because I was like, you're right. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to market yourself better than yourself. Nobody's going to be your number one promoter rather than you. And it's sort of like putting that aside, your whole kind of the stereotypes to the side, and just like, if you have a mission, focus on that mission and don't let anything affect it, and everything else is literally noise.
Yeah, no, Grant's great. I actually got a chance to chat with him at the conference too. But those are really interesting words that he shared with you, because it's like, go ahead.
I saw that where you're like, sell me this pen.
He does it to everybody else. I think he deserved a little bit of his own medicine, and he handled it, as you would expect, very well. But it's super interesting for you to share that with us, because we do live in this influencer economy right now, right? And what I think is different, you said the term influencer is kind of looked down upon in a lot of ways, because a lot of times they don't bring value, right? It's like, I want to be famous for famous sake, and that's influencer, right? But you have people like Grant and yourself that have these missions. And then I do think, to his point, it's important to kind of show people behind the curtain of that, because there's an authenticity there that is lacking so much of this in this world where we're separated by a screen from everybody, right? But like him and yourself do such a great job of inviting people onto that journey with you, like your 21-day challenge. People are along for those rides, and they want to be along with those people that do have these real missions that are affecting positive change in some way in the world. So that's super cool to hear it. I appreciate you sharing with us that story. It's an exclusive now because apparently you told it here first, so that's very exciting. At the Bitcoin conference too, I want to go off script because you're very plugged into the scene, and we do know a lot of the best things that happen and the biggest things that happen don't actually happen at the conference. They happen outside of the official conference. Was there anything that happened to you when you're on your journeys, or there was like a lot of after parties or anything that really stuck with you? Was anyone giving you the inside scoop on an off the record basis on the after parties and everything of that crazy week?
Very, very clever, my friend. Not many people know, but I see journalism, and journalists are more respected for the things that they don't say rather than they do say. No, honestly, it was a different conference, the one in Vegas. From my personal experience, I think there was a lot of suits. There was, and that was like different. I don't know how to act with suits and all politicians. It was kind of intimidating, I would say, to be surrounded by such important people. My takeaway, I really always talk about without a filter. I think it was just like, honestly, in this conference in particular, I think it was very divided. Normally in the previous conferences, like, you would be surrounded by the really important people, but I think we have gotten to a point where it's like super, super duper important people. Like, I'm talking about like the JD Vance, like politicians, where all the Sailor Garbage them fit in. And then there's the important people. And then you have like the plebs. And I had never felt so much of like that, juxtaposition. So that conference, like in that conference, I did feel sort of like a disconnect from every single station from that. And it was kind of like weird. And I was like, since I've been into Bitcoin for like around 5 years, I kind of felt I'm guessing, the old Bitcoiners felt when I just probably got into the space. But it's been interesting to kind of see that shit. And you would see it online, like these mini circle conferences happening. And like, or you would be at, like, for example, at an exclusive party, but there's already like an even more exclusive party happening. So I personally did not get to experience any of like the secretive stuff. I think they like try to keep me out. But I did.
I doubt that.
People. It was kind of like, it's, I feel like we're entering a new era of Bitcoin. So we all just have to adapt to it. I think many Bitcoiners are trying to get things stuck in their old ways, but that's life. We have to adapt. Like, yes, we had a great 4 years of a cycle. So now we have a new cycle coming. And I think that's what I guess every Bitcoiner kind of experiences.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like we used to have Bitcoin popular people, right? And now we have mainstream popular people that are also coming into the Bitcoin space. So you have like Michael Saylor, who's kind of like the almighty within our Bitcoin orange pill circle. But then you have the vice president of the United States. So like that's a whole thing bigger than that. And yeah, there's definitely a divide between what was our Bitcoin ecosystem and now the world ecosystem that are kind of becoming intertwined. And I know what you were talking about. I tried getting into that VIP room that you were interviewing people in, but they asked me to leave every time. So next time I'll have to drop your name. Maybe that'll get me some clout, but it was pretty embarrassing. Going back to the actual conference itself though, did your time there spark any new interesting partnerships or collabs for BTC ISLA or Get Based? I mean, most times the wildest ideas are talked about poolside initially. So did that have any effect on what you're doing right now? Maybe a good conversation with someone else other than Grant Cardone?
Honestly, I would have loved to have been, I was working. So for me, I couldn't network. And I think there's like, for example, you go to different conferences and when you're working, it's a different hat that you put on versus when you're networking and you're talking about your projects. It was actually one of the first Bitcoin conferences where I was recognized, and there were a lot of people like that had watched many of the videos that I had done. So I think that was probably pretty interesting to me. I'm trying to like, bro, is that this was like, this is in May. We're in like July right now. I'm like having the biggest brain fart because I'm like, I know I had amazing conversations and great ideas sparked from it, but I can't pin to you like any. I would have to say one of the coolest things was post-conference experience because Get Based, one of the co-founders, Julian Figueroa, wants to do these Get Based retreats, and after all the noise from Vegas, we managed to escape with like a tight-knit group of people. Like we had Efrat come, we had Peruvian Bull, we had Ben come, and we all rented an Airbnb in to see the Grand Canyon. And I think that
cool.
that brought more than the conference. I don't know, like
I get that. It's a real experience outside of the main experience, so you get to meet people on a different level, but still bond over these shared values and ideas, specifically of the orange pill variety. You said, though, it was kind of the first conference you went to where people recognized you and knew who you were. What was that like? Is that cool? Is that a little weird? You get these people that know who you are, but you don't know who they are. What did that feel like for you?
It was an honor. I was like, what? You guys are watching stuff? Sometimes as a creator, maybe you can feel the same way. It's sort of like you create, you want to impact people and, be part of someone's journey in life. That's when you see the comments, you know they're there, but meeting them in person and actually being like, oh my gosh, you've watched my stuff and like you've been inspired by some of the videos that I've done. Or like, because obviously like there's good things and there's also like the bad comments. Sometimes people are like, oh, you don't bring anything or any value to life or whatever. These are just stupid influencer videos. So when you have that on media, but then you meet the people in person and they're so inspired, like you motivated me to, try and orange pill my town, or you motivated me to start a Bitcoin class. It kind of like puts things into perspective, like, oh my gosh, my videos are making a difference, because at the end of the day, my goal is to reach hyper Bitcoinization. I want to be part of the Bitcoin ecosystem and put my little grain of salt and try to take things to like the next level. So having someone be like even moved to do something similar in their town or in their space, it's sort of like, wow, like I did that. I helped you overcome this. So it was really very like humbling. It's like, wow, there are people behind the scenes and just meeting them in person.
Yeah. Well, that's great. It's like haters are always going to hate on the internet, but when you get to actually see in person how you're positively impacting people's lives, it's just like a whole different breed. I was hoping for that type of experience myself, but I think it was you and one random guy who knew who I was at the conference. But when the guy came up to me and just went, blockchain report, man, love it, keep it up, I felt like I was on cloud nine the whole time. Probably how you felt the entire, conference, but to a much, 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 much lesser extent. But it was fun, and I'm glad to hear, you're seeing the fruits of your labor and other people like positively be received by the Bitcoin community? Because you're one of the hardest working people in the biz. I see your stuff all the time. You're a content machine. It's an inspiration to everybody out there. I mean, to the point where I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you recently were an MC at the Prague Bitcoin conference. I want to know about that. How was that experience? How was it different than Bitcoin Vegas?
That was the first time I was invited to MC at a main stage. It was the biggest conference in Europe. So I was beyond honored to have MC'd the whole day. If you guys have the chance to go to BTC Prague, I highly recommend. They are actually they're a conference that started with two brothers, and they've managed to transcend and touch a lot of people. So I think I even managed to convince my little brother to go to that conference. But being on the main stage and looking at thousands of people was nuts. It was scary, I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, I had been trying to manifest that for 5 years. Like, how do I explain this? At the end of every single conference, I would go up to the main stage after the conference had died, and I would take a picture, and I would tell myself, I'm going to be speaking in the main stage one of these years. And I kept doing that for every single year after conference, conference after conference. So to then be able to do that and have, these two brothers trust me to MC the main stage, I was like, what the heck is going on? So it was obviously I need to improve on my MC skills. Nobody's perfect, but I think practice makes perfect. And seeing in the main stage just gives you this adrenaline. Yes, it's a little awkward sometimes because I would try to start some chants and the European audience is a little quiet, but it was
I bet.
very.
Well, it's not manifestation alone, right? Like, obviously, you've done the work to get to that place. So it's like, I hear a lot about manifestation, but really it comes down to what are you doing on the day-to-day to get there? And you've clearly earned that at this point. And you mentioned how the audience was a little different, a little quieter. Oh, we got some video. Let's take a peek here. Were you able to play it? There she is. I know her.
That's me.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Was there anything for you? You mentioned the audience was a little different. Was there anything about European Bitcoiners as a whole that you felt was noticeably different than what you've experienced here in the colonies? Are they just a quieter bunch, or do they approach the mission a little differently in any way?
They're quieter. They're respectful.
They're respectful.
They're respectful. Yeah. Like, I feel like in America, everybody's like, hey, crazy. And in the Europeans were more civil, I would say. Like, for example, Michael Saylor was there as well. And people would actually line up and ask Saylor, "Can you please take a picture with you?" And Saylor would be like, yes, of course. That's in Europe. And then in the States, people are like walking up to him, like taking selfies. So that's why Europeans are they're more civil. And I guess when I was telling them like, hey, Bitcoin, not crypto. When I say Bitcoin, you say not crypto. I'd be like Bitcoin. And they're like, and I'm like, okay, all right. So we're not going to do chants.
Well, I respect you trying it. I'm a little disappointed in the European contingent. I've seen plenty of European footy matches, and they are very loud and vocal in those. So I'm a little disappointed they didn't carry that spirit and enthusiasm to the Bitcoin conference as well. But it's like, I guess, what are you going to do? I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. You were at Prague. You've got a lot of stuff going on, including, I want to talk a little bit about Get Based, okay? What is that? I know it's a media company, but there's a lot of media companies out there. So as far as Get Based goes, what kind of problems are you guys solving? And what was the impetus of how this all came to life? Did you just see a gap in the business and you're like, I think we can fill that? Or is it something else?
Well, it started out, funnily enough, me and Julian. Julian's one of the co-founders, so it's three of us. It's me, Julian, and Adam O'Brien. And back in 2022, Julian reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm shooting a documentary in Peru. You're Peruvian. Let's go shoot. So when we went to Peru and we shot this documentary about the Bitcoin circular economy there, we could not get funding for the video. So during a bear market, no company wanted to invest in something that they didn't know they were going to get the return on. So we were like, you know what? We don't want this to ever happen again. Why don't we start a media company? And he had already done a documentary as well with Adam O'Brien from Well in Guatemala. And they wanted to start a big media company. So I was sort of like that last missing piece. And the three of us like came together and we're like, you know what? We want to create content that will awaken the sovereign individual. It doesn't matter what, but we just want to do that. We don't want to put limits on ourselves. We don't want to have to wait for a sponsor to fund our things. So what ended up happening was we are about like a year and 6 months in. We managed to create two funnels. So we have the production side and then the service side. And we are filling in the gap for the market in companies. What do I mean by marketing is everybody nowadays is, they're glued to their phone and we have short attention spans. So we create micro learning videos for different companies like Blockstream, Rumble. There you can see a Blockstream. They even have us integrated in our app, in their app, and you guide the user on how to use the product. So many people, like, for example, you want your mom to buy Bitcoin and you want her Bitcoin to be on a Jade. So you tell her like, hey, mom, here, or grandma or auntie or whatever, use, the Jade Plus app. So they download it. But normally what we end up doing is we just stay on the app. They don't know what to do next. So we kind of solve that problem by doing 30 to 90 second tutorials or micro learning videos to guide the user on how to set up the app, how to, what your 12 words mean, obviously depending on the user integration. So that's sort of like what funds all our crazy video ideas like BTC Isla. We have a show coming up that's called The Exit Manual. It's going to be hosted by Julian. It's on the screen right there. It's going to launch August 6th, and Proof of God, that's going to launch in September by Adam O'Brien. So we kind of figured the YouTube game out, how to build YouTube, sort of like a YouTube channel in kind of like just the secret sauce for building these videos without kind of like needing the sponsorship.
That's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you're kind of helping with, I think, a thing that we kind of are trying to in our own way, the accessibility, right, of to Bitcoin and getting people that it seems like a very complicated, challenging thing with a large barrier entry to get into, making it a little more easy for people to understand, right? It sounds like you are the missing piece of your little holy triumvirate that's learning how to do that and very well. I mean, I've seen quite a few of your videos and they really do a great job of explaining things quickly and concisely and then converting people. Which makes me wonder, what's your process like for taking complex Bitcoin concepts and then turning them into crystal clear scroll-stopping content? I have a friend who I won't mention that's just dying to know.
Well, honestly, I'm not going to take credit for that. Julian, I call him Juju, he's the wizard of making short scripts. He has managed to find the secret sauce in understanding complex products and systems and turning them to like super relatable content that's easy to watch and that's funny, that people will actually enjoy. Because that's one of our main things. We want to meet users where they are on their phone. And the issue with, great products sometimes, many products kind of like fail, not because the product isn't great, but because the users don't know how to use it. And we're kind of built that bridge by helping them, like we're giving them no excuses. I don't know about you, but I'm not a technological person. Like it took me, I need someone to literally hold my hand through the whole process. And it's really hard to do, especially with Bitcoin and having, being able to have the keys to your own wallet is really difficult, and people don't understand how important that is. And if you don't know how to do it properly, people are not going to pay thousands of dollars, or maybe some people will, but the reality is not everybody can afford thousands and thousands of dollars to pay for a course or someone to tutor them personally on how to set up your portfolio.
Right. Yeah, no, there's absolutely a need for someone to explain how to do these, what can be very intimidating processes that include large sums of capital. How can we do these easily and make people feel comfortable doing them? Because I remember the first time I was transferring between my wallets, and you get the long wallet address, and if you miss a keystroke on it, then you're going to send it into the oblivion, and then all your Bitcoin or whatever you got is gone. So it's an incredibly intimidating process, and we're glad there's people like you out there that are making it a little bit easier for mom and pop who are still kind of getting an idea around them of what Bitcoin is. I've been trying to explain it to my mother for years now, and I think she's finally starting to get it to click. Now, in your experience with GetBased, and you're making this short form content, I want to give you an opportunity. Are there any projects, campaigns, or clients that you did recently that you're especially proud of? I want to give you an opportunity to brag a little. I know you work with Blockstream. That's a pretty big deal. Is there anyone else, or are they your favorite right now?
We do Rumble as well. Rumble is probably one of our favorites personally because they're not just a Bitcoin company. And I'm assuming many Bitcoin businesses can relate. Sometimes it's really hard to step out of that Bitcoin, in that Bitcoin bubble. So being able to pair up with someone as big as Rumble, that they're doing crazy things out there. I know you wanted an exclusive. They've already posted this on their X, but they're wanting to expand and kind of become the go-to app with everything. They want to be a wallet. They want to be able to pay their creators in their own wallet with Bitcoin. They have a Bitcoin, strategic reserve. So they really value a lot of decentralization and the power of freedom of speech. So I think that would have to be my favorites.
Yeah. Is that kind of the plan for GetBased, to kind of explore new verticals outside of the Bitcoin space as well, and Rumble's kind of a good segue to do so? Or do you guys think you're going to try to keep it within the Bitcoin ecosystem?
We want to be working with base companies. Normally the filter for Bitcoin companies is, when a Bitcoin company, they're normally based and based means just people that, have hardcore values and they're sort of ethical in a way, I would call them. Someone that's kind of been away from the system and has opted out from Matrix. So being able to work with companies that share that vision just brings a lot into perspective. Don't get me wrong, I love the Bitcoin ecosystem, but I think in order to grow, I think we have to sort of be working with different types of clients and meet people where they are, because that's one of our things. We like to meet people where they are. That's one of the things why we do the micro learning tutorials, because we meet them where they are on their phone. So we kind of need to listen to what the people want to eat. So obviously I don't personally want companies that are not, they don't stand in the same ethical backgrounds and beliefs that I do, what companies, the founders do. So I think it's just a matter of time, I would say.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, if you got the secret sauce and how to make short form, succinct content that actually brings value to people, why would you limit yourself to just the Bitcoin ecosphere? There's a lot of other arenas that would really benefit from that type of information. Is GetBased separate from your Bitcoin Cafe? And if so, are they helping you promote that? Because it's such a cool idea. But I got to ask, like, what's the vision there? Are you just trying to help promote this hyper Bitcoinization? Or did you just think coffee meets Bitcoin sounded too good to resist? Like, what was the vision behind all of that?
The mission behind the Bitcoin Cafe. So I have, I'm like starting a nonprofit personally called BTC Isa, where literally I'm trying to orange pill the island. That is separate from GetBased. It's sort of like my little personal project. And I have a going school, that's me trying to orange pill the whole island and trying to help out 3 people. So the Bitcoin Cafe started as an idea because what ended up happening is I love coffee. I'm already drinking coffee. And me and my fiance have a restaurant here on the island. It was the first restaurant that accepted Bitcoin. And one of the things that I started to realize was when I'm orange pilling the people on the island, there's sort of like not a barrier, but they're like, Bitcoin, what? You know what I mean? Like, can I change it to peso?
Yeah.
It was sort of like to build validity to Bitcoin in a way, a Bitcoin Cafe, it's in the name, because it's different to say like, this is a Bitcoin Cafe than this place accepts Bitcoin. I think you'll feel more like, it'll call their attention more and they'll be like, oh, I can actually spend my sats there. And the thing was, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but it's going to be priced in sats. That would get my to kill me. She's like, why would you say that? How are we going to do that? Bitcoin is volatile. He's like a true hardcore Bitcoiner. He's like, we also need to run a business, So that's going to be an interesting, I don't know how I'm going to price it in sats because obviously, today, I don't know, the price is like $123,000 in Bitcoin. Tomorrow, it could be 110. We don't know. So if I have a cost that's priced in like 2,000 sats, what's going to happen? And I didn't process that until we had to make the menu. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able, what I'm thinking is, honestly, when, like, for example, you have exchanges, like in one of our restaurants, Mayaquita, the exchange to US pesos is $17, and it's always been $17, whether the US dollar is 20 to a peso or not. So maybe we're going to try that approach. So I have to like figure out how we're going to be able to do that, because if not, I'm going to have to like erase for every single day to see. But yeah, it just started like sometimes people just don't like heavy coffee. And between us, we were having Bitcoin meetups in the restaurant. And when you're having a Bitcoin meetup, you just want a coffee and talk to people. You don't really want to consume food. Like the Bitcoiners on the island, they love eating at their own house. Like they're very healthy. So it was kind of like, okay, we need a place for Bitcoiners to chill, to hang out, where you can meet Bitcoiners. And I had always wanted to do that. And we had a space on the second floor that we decided, let's just make this the Bitcoin Cafe, where we can do the classes, we can do the Bitcoin meetups. Bitcoiners that come from all over the world to the island, they will know where to go. They will have sort of like a home in a way, like they'll know when to chill, like where they can meet other Bitcoiners. It was either that or I was already scouting out another place to build. to buy or something, I was like, we want like Bitcoiners to feel at home here, because that's kind of what we're trying to build in Isla Mujeres, like this mini citadel. We're going to like start a project to have Bitcoiners kind of like move to the island here. So hopefully like this will.
That's so cool. What do you think is like, you mentioned the challenge of like getting people to understand prices for things like coffee in sats. That seems like a real challenge right now, right? Especially for Joe mom and pop consumer out there that aren't ingratiated in the Bitcoin space yet. What do you think is we're going to need to get to a place where people start thinking about the world in sats? Is that a UX thing where it needs to be a little more simple, so where I can do like Apple Pay, for instance, just scan my phone and it's in sats? Is it an education issue? Like, what do you think it's going to take for us to get to a place where the world truly starts thinking differently, where they can go to your coffee shop and know what 2,000 sats actually means, you know, monetarily?
Unfortunately, right now, we need a lot of educators, because I'm realizing like many of the incoming Bitcoiners, they don't put in the work to learn more. So if we do want Bitcoin to work and to be decentralized, like there needs to be a huge education aspect of it. Like, for example, like having your own, you know, set up your own node. Back in the day, like people don't really realize this, but from 2009 to 2012, all the Bitcoin that was into circulation happened through mining. And then because Coinbase came and they ended up being like one of the biggest exchanges, people stopped mining. So kind of like, I think it has to be like this big balance between education and user kind of like experience aspect of it. Like it needs to be simpler, you know, easier to use. But we can't get there unless we start educating people on the true like aspects of Bitcoin. Like the number one aspect of Bitcoin, it's literally how decentralized it is. And if we don't start voicing how centralized it could get, and how there are people out there that want to centralize mine, that want to kind of like take this shot and like our last sliver of hope that we have to build like in a world of freedom, I think like screwed this way. So I think people need to start voicing out like non-KYC Bitcoin. Everything, like all the exchanges require KYC. You know what I mean? It's really hard to get and onboard them into Bitcoin, and then they have to put in all their information on there. So I think it comes from literally education, supporting projects that kind of like are true to the Bitcoin ethos, literally just the non-KYC stuff, like Bitcoin mining, smaller pools, and trying to also you need the developers to make things simpler for the users, because you know we're in 2025. It's simple to set up your credit card for days. You can do it online, and I think it's kind of bad. You know, we gotta get up to the point where it's that simple, but not being able to be tracked.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that happens gradually and then suddenly, right? And we're in that gradually process, and thanks to people like you that are out there building all of these new businesses centered around Bitcoin, that's getting people slowly ingratiated in the space, and you know, it'll get to be where we think it'll be in the future. So we certainly appreciate you and your efforts for all of that and all of your amazing pieces of content. By the way, if our audience out there is like, hey, I haven't had enough of Isabella from this interview, where can I send them to get more of everything you're up to, including that 21-day challenge? I'm super fascinated about that one.
Yeah, if they can please follow and subscribe to the YouTube BTC Isla to be part of the 21-day challenge, that would be epic. I'm very, very scared to do it because I don't know how, you know, you guys will react to it. And also my personal Twitter, Isabella S23. And I post there all the updates. And also, if you want to donate or be part of the CC Lab, we have a Geyser Fund as well called Geyser. Go to Geyser.com. You can find the project with some support over there.
Amazing. Well, we're going to have you back because I want to know everything that went down during those 21 days once you get all wrapped up. But Isabella, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure having you here on the Blockchain Report and seeing what you're up to. You're doing God's work out there, and we're all excited to watch what you're up to next. So thanks for joining the show, and we hope to see you again real soon.
Bye. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
Thanks, Isabella. Enjoy the rest of your week. Always a pleasure. All right, gang, that is it for today's episode of the Blockchain Report. As always, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to RoxomTV and me at Hank at RoxomTV on every platform that still celebrates freedom. And we will see you guys tomorrow for more crypto chaos. Thanks for tuning in. See you then.
Enjoy.